What you guys, can this single board computer replace your desktop? This is the Youyeetoo K1, which they sent all this stuff out for review. All opinions are my own, no one is reviewing this video before it's released, and no money has changed hands. So let's take a look at what you get inside the box. They sent this out as a kit, and I'm pretty sure you could order all this stuff on their website. So you're going to end up with all of this stuff if you purchased one of their kits. You can see 18-1 docking station. This is in case you want to add more ports to the actual single board computer. We've got a power adapter here with a barrel jack. This is for the UK, but you can get it for other countries as well. They've also got a couple of little packets of AIoT, which is your artificial intelligence of things. These are a combination of AI technologies that you can use with Internet of Things. So this is what they've got here. I won't be using them in this video. I've also got a Wi-Fi card here, which you can add on with a couple of antennas as well. And this is interchangeable as well. This is another expansion one here, which you can just change out if you want to, or you can connect it via the little ribbon there to connect up to the main board if you want to. But we're not going to be covering that in this video, but we're just going to be concentrating on the main single board computer here. You can see this is another option available to you. So you've got plenty of expansion and projects that you might want to do with this as well. You can read all the information on their website. This is the main actual single board computer here. This has an Intel N100 processor. It can replace older or basic desktops. It is a 12th gen budget chip in here. It can handle web browsing, watching 4K videos and office work easily. However, it's not built for high-end gaming or heavy video editing and things like that. But they're ideal for single board computers. You can see we do have a fan and big heatsink on here to keep the unit nice and cool. It does come with loads of little different ports on it that you can use. You can see here we do have two 1 gigabit Ethernet ports on here, some USB ports on here that can be used, a Type-C port, and also a HDMI and a mini HDMI port by the looks of it, or micro HDMI port. And we have the power input on there as well with some LED lights to let you know what's happening on the system. But the Intel 12th gen Alder Lake N100 has 4 cores, 4 threads, up to 3.4 gigahertz with a turbo of 6 watts TDP. Memory is normally 8 or 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 on here. We do have an expansion for Wi-Fi and also for a NVMe drive that you might want to have on here, which is M.2 2280. You can use that for more storage if you need, but it does have also built-in storage on here, which comes pre-installed with Windows 11, but it will run Ubuntu, Debian, or any sort of operating system on here. You've got your Wi-Fi, you've got your Bluetooth on here, you've got your dual HDMI 2.0 that supports 4K and 2K at 60 Hertz, and you've got your built-in storage of 256 gigabytes on eMMC chip. So we also have either an 8 gigabyte or 16 gigabyte version. I think this is the 16 gigabyte version here. You can slot in your Wi-Fi card here and screw it down and basically put your antennas. I have no use for a Wi-Fi card in this video. I'm going to be using one of the Ethernet ports, but you can use these if you want to. You can buy cases for this as well, and you can even use this ribbon and plug it into one of the actual ports on here and connect it to the other board as well. And you can see I've got it set up here to my capture card and everything else plugged in, and that's what it looks like. I've got it turned on, and if you're interested in the temperatures, this is what the external temperatures look like. Max around about 57-ish, and we've also got max 52-ish on the back as well, where the actual M.2 slot is. Now there's no drive in here yet, so that will probably get a little bit hotter. You can buy other cases for these devices as well. There's your actual BIOS. It's got plenty of options available in the BIOS as well. You can see two 1 gigabit Realtek controllers there as well. So you've got some customization there. Now the Youyeetoo K1 is a versatile x86 single board computer designed for AIoT and home labs. You can also use the GPIO pin layouts here, and you can customize it here for upgrading your BIOS and Watchdog and a bunch of other stuff here. Comes pre-installed on their operating system on this actual little unit. So it does come with Windows 11 already pre-installed on here, but like I said, you can install pretty much anything you like. Now, I did notice under idle the temperatures were running a little hot. You can see them spiking up to 91, then back to 73, then 86, and so on. And you can see we did have the package ring thermal throttling saying yes, it was at 47%. And the core thermal throttling was also happening on here at 44%. So the temperatures were fluctuating. It did settle down to around about 66, you can see there. So it was jumping about all over the place, but the Intel Processor N100, the maximum operating system temperature is 105 Celsius, but its expected ranges on idle is 35C and 50C. Under load, it should be 65 and 85C. But we was idle and the temperatures were spiking up pretty high. So maybe the fan is not doing enough cooling on there, or there might not be enough thermal paste on there. I'll have to investigate a bit further. Now, when I looked at the streaming, it did say only 1080p could be streamed on YouTube here. And you can see it works perfectly fine, as you would expect it to, because it's plenty powerful enough to do 1080p streaming, and there was hardly any drop frames once you got it started. And this is where this little mini single board computer comes into its own. It's going to be able to handle this sort of stuff with no problem whatsoever. So if you're looking for something for home lab, home automation, or something like that, this is going to be ideal. And you can use it for other things like a music server as well, and things like that you can set it up for. Now, the C drive on here, you can see 256 gigabyte of internal storage. That's on eMMC storage there, you can see. But you can add another drive on here if you wanted to get even more storage space on this little device. The reads and writes, you can see 308.05, and also writes are 224.95 writes. Not the fastest, but that is the internal storage that it's reading there. Let's try this Jellyfish 400 Mbps 4K Ultra HD HEVC 10-bit file and see if it can play it. This is quite a difficult file to play. It does take a bit of time to populate up, as you can see, but hopefully it will be able to play this file, and this means you can play 4K content, and you can see it is pretty smooth. There's no jerkiness whatsoever here, and this is doable. Let me skip it and see what happens. I've skipped a little bit there, and it starts up straight away. So once it gets going, it does work pretty well. So you could use this for some sort of light desktop computer work, as long as you're not going to be doing any sort of heavy load on it. Now, I did try some retro gaming on here, and it did do okay. There was a little bit of stuttering here and there, but I do believe that that's the temperatures that is causing that, and it should be able to handle this no problem at all. But I think with the temperatures climbing the way they were, it was affecting the performance a little bit. Some games played better than others, but again, like I said, I will have to investigate that a little bit further and see whether there's enough thermal paste on there, or whether it's adequate cooling for that little device, because in my opinion, it should be running as hot as it was. But that being said, it was still working perfectly fine. But I would suggest that you ditch Windows 11 on this little device and maybe install some sort of Linux distro on here, or if you want to run some sort of server software, you can get Ubuntu server on here and set up some sort of home lab and stuff like that. But normally that processor is plenty enough to run games like this. But you can see there was a little bit of lag there, a little bit of warping there. I'm not sure what's going on there. I've not had that sort of issue with this sort of level of processor before. So maybe that's the temperature or the thermal throttling that's happening that's causing that. And maybe it's because it's got Windows on it. I'm not 100% sure. And maybe those temps are perfectly normal for Windows 11 on this little single board computer. Youyeetoo K1 creators might know more about that than myself. That's why I would suggest that you would use another type of operating system on here if that is the case. Ubuntu server and CasaOS will work perfectly fine on this little device as well. So how much does this cost? Well, For the 8GB of LP DDR5 and 128GB of eMMC memory, it cost £162. And for the 16GB version and 256GB of internal storage, that's going to cost £200. That's quite expensive for a little board like this, but again, it is quite a powerful board, but those temps were a little bit concerning, spiking up to 90 odd Celsius. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. My name is Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Just want to say a quick shout out to all my YouTube members. I really do appreciate the support, and I shall catch you in the next video. Bye for now.